The big thing last year is because so many people had freezes. Remember we had 40% freezes? With that many freezes, it makes a big difference in what the average is if we include the freezes or don't include the freezes. So I gave you data two ways. One is all organizations, including organizations that had freezes in place. And the second is only organizations with increases. And what we saw last year is that organizations that provided increases on average were about 2.4 to 3.0, depending on what group you're looking at. This year, it's not as divergent. The numbers are for 2011, the numbers are much closer, 2.8 versus 3.2, you know what I'm saying? The numbers are much closer. The big question that everybody asks is, well, should we use the all organizations number, or should we use the ones only with providing increases? My answer to you, I guess in that case, would be look at your industry. Industry is the huge dividing line for 2011 on what's going on. The numbers are very consistent that merit adjustments and budgets are very close to 3% locally. Nationally, a little bit lower, but locally it's 2.9, 3.1, 3.0, right in there. But when you look at the industries, you can see a huge difference. Look at the all organization number here, 1.5 for government and education, and healthcare 3.3. Double. The increases in healthcare are double what they are for government this coming year. So when you're looking at numbers, make sure you're looking at that, at where what they're talking about, what are the numbers referring to, because they can be very different. I want to take a minute and talk about revenue and expenses. So there's a perception that longer term, and there was a study done by Puget that said that by 2020 our merit increases are going to average 2% per year, and our incentive plans are going to be much higher, in the neighborhood of say 10%, where right now many of us on average, when we look at all the averages, it's maybe 2 or 3%. It's a tiny number. And their theory is that that's how pay for performance, and that's how we're going to be able to differentiate moving forward. And so over time, what will happen is there'll be more and more of the dollars will be going to incentive pay, and less will be in base pay. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but I think it's an important thing to be aware of and be paying attention to as we move forward. I think there's a limit to how much we can really use incentive pay. I think, first of all, most of us aren't very good at it. And I have a whole section later on, we'll talk more about incentive pay, but I don't think we're very good at it. And there's a lot of research that says that when you get beyond a certain point, there's no value. The incentive payouts don't actually help. It actually creates negative behavior instead of positive behavior. So we have to be careful about how we use incentives. But I think this is an interesting little piece of research to look at and to think about. STI is short-term incentives. That's 1 year or shorter incentive plans. LTI, long-term incentives. More than 1 year, or often equity or stock will be lumped into that category.